Hello, my name is Brandy Powell, and we will be discussing phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is a more broad term that represents a student's ability to understand the internal linguistic structure of words. So, this can be done in multiple ways. So, this is the awareness of larger parts of spoken language and also the awareness of smaller parts of spoken language. With the larger parts, we want them to understand words at the word level, the syllable level, and the intersyllable level. So, understanding onset and rhyme. And at the smaller parts of spoken words, we want them to understand phonemes. At the word level, students need to understand sentence segmentation, which is how many words that you hear in a sentence. And students can do this by tapping out each word they hear. They also need to understand segmentation, which is taking a compound word and breaking it into two smaller words. Blending, which is taking two smaller words and blending them together to form a compound word. And deletion, which is taking a compound word and deleting one of the smaller words. At the syllable level, we want students to understand segmentation, which is when you take a whole word and break it into syllables. Deletion, which is when you take a whole word and delete one of the syllables. And blending, which is when you take individual syllables and blend them to make a whole word. At the intrasyllable level, we want students to be able to recognize rhyme, which is when they're able to determine if two words rhyme. We want them to be able to generate a rhyme, which is find words that rhyme with a given word. We want them to be able to categorize rhymes. So when they're given a list of 3 to 4 words, they are able to determine which word does not rhyme. And then we would also like them to understand onset and rhyme blending, which is when they're given an onset and a rhyme, and they're able to blend the two to create a whole word. Also, at the intersyllable level, we want students to be able to blend body and coda. So when they're given a body and a coda, they are able to blend the sounds together to create a whole word. And we would also like them to understand onset and rhyme segmentation, which is when you break a word into an onset and a rhyme. At the phoneme level, we want students to be able to understand isolation, which is recognizing individual sounds in a word. We want them to be able to understand identity, which is when you select which word out of 3 to 4 words that has a common sound with a given word. We want them to understand blending, which is when you're given separated phonemes and able to combine the sounds to form a whole word. And we want them to be able to understand categorization, which is when you're given a set of words and you need to find the word that has the odd sound, so the sound that doesn't go with the other words in the group. Also, at the phoneme level, we want students to understand segmentation, which is when they are able to separate a given word into individual phonemes. We want them to understand deletion, which is when they recognize a word that remains when a phoneme is deleted from a given word. We want them to understand addition, which is when they make a new word by adding a phoneme to a given word. And substitution, which is when they make a new word by replacing one phoneme with another. Now, I would like you to work with your table members to discuss the following list of words and the sentences that accompany them. I want you to discuss these words at the word level, so sentence segmentation. How many words do you hear in the sentence? At the syllable level, I want you to discuss how many syllables the word has. At the intersyllable level, I want you to think of some rhyming words that rhyme with the word. And at the phoneme level, I would like you to discuss how many phonemes are in the word. As you work with your table members, please write down your answers and we will discuss when everybody is finished. There are many curriculums out there that teach phonological awareness. But when you are picking your curriculum, you should make sure that your phonological awareness instruction targets 1 or 2 skills at a time, is explicit, so it's taught directly to the students, is systematic, so it begins easier and continuously adds difficulty, it's engaging, and it begins with phonological sensitivity, so it starts with the larger units of sound. For most students, instruction should not last more than 30 minutes and it should not exceed 20 hours in a school year. But again, this is only for most students. Other students may need more or less depending on where they are in their phonological awareness. These are a few different curriculums that you could use. So there's Read Write Phonological Awareness Kit, which systematically teaches rhyming, word awareness, syllable segmenting, and blending. There is ProEd Phonological Awareness Skills Program, which assesses and teaches the skills that enable children to make sense out of reading and spelling. And there's the Haggerty Phonemic Awareness Curriculum, which teaches students how to recognize, blend, segment, and manipulate sounds. Now that we have discussed curriculum, we can think of specific learners. So here we discuss our multilingual learners. Phonological awareness should be taught to all students, including multilingual learners, with direct and systematic instruction. This can be done with phonological awareness, letter knowledge, phonics, vocabulary, reading fluency, and reading comprehension skills, because these skills can be transferred from one language to another. So when they learn it in their home language, they can then transfer those skills into their new language when they are learning English. Phonemic awareness is also a crucial aspect of learning to read for multilingual learners, as it is also for English only learners as well. There are a few accommodations we could use for multilingual learners, including home language support, modeling and repetition, visual supports, scaffolding, and also using cultural responsive examples. Assessments in the area of phonological awareness are very important in order to make sure that your students are making effective progress in their reading. Phonological awareness assessments should begin mid kindergarten and then continue through early elementary school. Assessments can help determine if a student even needs instruction in the areas of phonological awareness and what level of instruction that student may need in the specific area. Students with low decoding skills should be assessed for progress monitoring frequently in order to make sure they are making effective progress in their reading. Here are a few assessments that you could use. The Phonological Awareness Literacy Screening screens students in the areas of rhyme awareness, beginning sound awareness, and phonemic awareness. The AIMSWORD Test of Early Literacy assesses students in the area of phoneme segmentation fluency. The Dibbles Next assessment assesses students in the areas of first sound fluency and phoneme segmentation fluency. And the Fast Bright Early Reading Assessment assesses students in the areas of word rhyming, word blending, and word segmentation. Now that we know a little more about phonological awareness and the importance of teaching it, I would like for you to discuss activities you could add to your ELA curriculum to add more phonological awareness instruction to your day. And we'll discuss your ideas at our next staff meeting. Please complete the exit ticket before you leave today. Thank you very much.